Hello, hello, hello. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and I want to welcome you to another session of Heart Talk. Heart Talk is our weekly life support group where we come together from all over the globe, members of our heart tribe, so that we can do heart work and grow heart equity. What is heart equity? We define heart equity as personal, relational, and financial wealth that we obtain through authentic living. So today I'm really excited. Heart Talk has been around since September the 1st of 2014. So we started encouraging one another, uplifting one another ever since 2014. So I just really want to encourage you. I want to support you. I just want to let you know that you are not in life alone. A lot of people feel like they're doing life alone. You feel like you're just out here on a whim and a prayer, and you're just figuring it out. Sometimes you feel like people don't get you, people don't understand you, people don't want to get to know you. And I just want to encourage you and let you know that we do. Our heart tribe is here so that we can um how do we say, confront matters of the heart so that we can live authentically on purpose. So I just want to encourage you, wherever you are in your life, just know that you're not alone, you're not by yourself. And Heart Talk is here. We've been around since September of 2014. We're almost at 12 years. Okay, we're here because we want to make sure that we understand the power of living on purpose, and understanding that a part of that purpose deals with confronting the issues that are holding you back, those hidden things, those quiet things, those generational things, right? The things that the people before you kind of went along to get along, and now it's time for you to literally break these situations in your life. So I just want to encourage you. Tonight's session, remember, we are live in our Heart Talk room. So if you would ever like to get on live, go to the website, sign up so that you can get into our room. You access it via Zoom. And then you and I can be on and have dialogue and conversation. We are also live on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, shout out to our YouTube family. We love you guys. Thank you for being here with us now, or if you're listening to the replay. So the one of the purposes of Heart Talk is so that you understand. I feel like God has called me to be a purpose protector, and I feel like Heart Talk is one of those sessions that help us protect our purpose. So tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about tension, and the tension that is required to live a fulfilled life, right? I work with my clients on the 6-step divine heart transplant process, where we really go from bruised to broken, right? From just bent over to bliss, right? From stuck to unstuck, and living your life on purpose. But tonight I want to talk about holding the tension between some of the situations in your life that might not necessarily add up. So I was listening to a podcast a couple of days ago, and something was said on the podcast, and it got me thinking. And I said, you know what? I want to talk to the Heart Tribe about this, because I really feel like we really need help in learning how to love one another well, right? The Bible tells us, we must love our neighbors as we love ourselves. We must live peacefully amongst ourselves. Our neighbors should be able to trust us. But I believe that many people struggle with being able to live amongst people, because a lot of times we're on either side of the coin, not realizing that the coin always has two sides. What do I mean by that? That your favorite person, your hero in life, may very well be a villain to somebody else, right? And your experience of that person may be heroic. They were there for you. They love you where they supported you. They were there for you. But somebody else may talk about this person and they have a different account. This person wasn't dependable, wasn't accountable, didn't have integrity, may have hurt them, may have harmed them. So how do you handle that? And I started thinking about that from the perspective of relationships, but I also thought about that just from the perspective of life as a whole. I think that sometimes we go through life and we're really challenged with being able to reconcile the ebbs and flows of life, right? When the tide goes out versus when the tide comes in, right? We can accept one side of the coin, but we seem to want to reject the other, but not realizing that when you take on this coin, you're taking both sides of the coin, right? It makes me think about King David in the Bible, right? The Bible talks about David was a man after God's own heart, but it also talks about how David manipulated Uriah and Bathsheba so that he could be with Bathsheba and kill Uriah. And that was like the leader of his army. And Uriah was so faithful to him. But, and y'all, please excuse me, God. Going through life changes, it is definitely it's a doozy. But, anyways, so I want to encourage you because I feel like a lot of us are in situations in our lives where you can grow. I feel like you're in a season where you can go from one level to the next, right? You're in elementary school and it's time to transition to middle school. You're in middle school, time to transition to high school. You graduate in high school, time to go to college. It's time for you to go to the next level, but you're struggling with holding the tension because for most of your life, you thought it had to be one way or the other, right? Either it's up or it's down. What Cardi say? If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's up. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. I love, I leave that Cardi's my girl, but it's not like that, right? If it's up, it's up. But sometimes life could be up and down all at the same time. And I just want, with us being here in the Heart Tribe, this is about us. This is a life support group. So when you go to work, when you're dealing with your family, you're dealing with your loved ones, you're dealing with your children, your significant others, or just looking yourself in the mirror, I want you to be able to hold the tension of what you like and what you don't like, what might be good and what you might deem as not so good, right? What might be favorable and what might be non-favorable. And how do you show up and still live a fulfilled life anyway? Right? So there's a passage in scripture, and I wanted to read this to you guys real quick, and I'll kind of reference this for the rest of our time tonight. So it's Luke chapter 7, and we're starting at verse 39, and it says, "Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spoke within himself, saying, This man, if he..." Okay. No, let me back up. Verse 36 says, "And one of the Pharisees desired him that he would eat with him." Talking about Jesus, Yeshua, HaMashiach, right? He said, "And he went into the Pharisee's house and sat down to meat. And behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, prostitute, woman of the night, whatever term you want to use to connect her, maybe not that, but just not a quote unquote virtuous woman, right? When a certain woman, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat at meat in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment and stood at his feet behind him, weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears and did wipe them with the hairs of her head and kissed his feet and anointed them with the ointment. Now, when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, This man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that toucheth him, for she is a sinner." Y'all know any sinners? Do y'all know any sinners? Oh, God. I know some. Okay. Now, these were his thoughts. Jesus read his thoughts. I just want to be clear. He was thinking this about Jesus, okay? And Jesus answering, okay, let me go back and read 39, just so y'all are clear. He says, "Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, This man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that toucheth him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answering him, and Jesus answering, I put in parentheses, his thoughts. Jesus answered his thoughts and said unto him, Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And he said, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had two debtors. The one owed 500 pence and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. And he turned to the woman and said to Simon, Seest thou this woman? I entered into thine house. Thou gavest me no water for my feet, but she has washed my feet with her tears and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Thou gave me no kiss, but this woman, since the time I came in, hath not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil you did not anoint, but this woman has anointed my feet with ointment, a very rare, expensive ointment that cost her a lot, by the way. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And he said unto her, Thy sins are forgiven. And they that sat at meat with him began to say within themselves, Who is this that forgiveth sins also? And he said to the woman, Thy faith has saved thee. Go in peace. So we're talking about tensions, right? And I wanted to, that's Luke chapter 7, verses 39 through 50. And I encourage you to read your Bible and seek the Lord about what that might mean to you. But for me, I saw Jesus being able to hold the tension between what this woman had done, her reputation in the world. Maybe she had slept with somebody's husband. Maybe one of those men had paid that woman to, have sex with her because that's what, women like. That's if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the sins that woman was known for that was in that particular passage. But whatever her sin was, Jesus knew about it, but he received her worship. He received her love. So just as sinful as she was, she clearly was blessed. She clearly was forgiven. She clearly was loved. And he said her faith healed her. So whatever it was she was believing God for, she got it because she showed up to Jesus as her authentic self and she worshiped him in her authentic way, and she invested in it. She spent time with him. She was truthful about her expression and she got what she needed. So my thing is, are you willing to hold the tension in your life? Are you willing to be truthful about where you are, what you're experiencing, so that God can give you what you need? We have the Holy Spirit as a helper, as a friend, to be there for us, to guide us, to mold us, to help us and show us what we need. And so when we think about ourselves and we look at ourselves, we want to, be in a space where we say, okay, look, I can hold the tension. Everything in my life doesn't have to be perfect, but it does not mean that my life is bad. Everything in my life does not have to be working out the way that I thought it was supposed to, right? My expectations might not be met, but it does not mean that I'm not where I need to be. It does not mean that I'm not doing what I need to do, right? I just talked to my niece today. She's in Korea, right? She has her first teaching gig. She is working. It's not a gig. It's not a gig. It is her first position in her teaching career. And I'm no slight to anybody that I just didn't even want to make it small by saying gig because it's so much bigger than a gig. But however you define gig in your life. But anyways, I'll digress. Um, and I was telling her, she was just, talking to me, and I was so proud of her. And I told her, I said, listen, I don't care what you go through on this journey. You keep your vision in front of you because that's your guiding light. And Auntie Connie just got on here, and she was one of those people that kind of reminded me to keep that 5 to 10 year goal, because when the 6 months and the 1 year is looking kind of janky, you look out further and then the vision gets a lot more clear. And I can attest to that. So I'm talking to my niece and I'm like, I don't care what you go through. Just look at your life in seasons. There is no storm that lasts forever. I don't care what storm we talk about. It don't last forever. And seasons don't last forever. Right. And as long as you keep that in front of you, if it's not working out, just know eventually it will. Right? If it's cool outside, just know eventually it's going to get hot again. You just have to hold on and focus and be willing to hold the tension. So, when we talk about tension, I'm going to read you the definition, just a very I looked up online what's the definition. I looked up a couple different definitions of tension, which I thought was pretty interesting, by the way, because I was looking for the more scientific from the perspective of engineering mechanical definitions. But when I looked up just generic definitions of tension online, I found a lot of mental, emotional, psychological references to tension, which was pretty unique to me because I'm used to I've been doing hard talk now for almost 12 years. So when I'm researching and stuff, usually it takes me in the other direction. So when it brought me back towards hard work, I thought, wow, I know I'm on to something. So when we talk about tension, right? One of the it's a couple definitions, and this is let me see. Okay. So the first, this is the Merriam-Webster dictionary, pretty popular for people who may look up words, and it talks about inner striving, unrest or imbalance, often with psychological indication of emotion, a state of latent hostility or opposition between individuals or groups. Talking about tension. C. This is the C version of the definition. A balance maintained in an artistic work between opposing forces or elements, right? That's more of along the lines of what I was expecting to see, something like that. Now, that was number one. So that was one, A, B, and C. Now, when we go to number two, it says the act of stretching or the condition or degree of being stretched to stiffness. Stretch to stiffness. Interesting, right? When we talk about tension. All right. So and that's 2A. Now we're going to 3A. It says either of two balancing forces causing or tending to cause extension. The stress resulting from the elongation of an elastic body. So that's kind of where, when I thought about it initially, or from where I say scientific, I was looking for like number three in the definitions. But it started out with one, and with the inner striving. That resonated with me because I feel like I'm getting delivered from inner striving, unrest, or imbalance, just in how I was viewing myself. And it says with psychological indication of emotion. So even as I was studying that, we may talk about that in a couple more hard talks to come, because when I looked at that definition, I thought, wow, I'm looking more from the stretching, the elongation of the elastic body, but this is talking about um, inner striving. And that's definitely something I was working through. So I wanted to talk about that tonight because I feel like many times we move the needle, or like I like to put it, we'll move the finish line on what fulfillment can be, what joy can look like, what success can look like or feel like in our lives, because we're not clear or cognizant of the fact that there's a tension that is going on in our lives, but that tension doesn't mean it's something bad. It just is. It is a opportunity for growth, a opportunity for expansion, a opportunity for something new, like you like to say, an adventure, right? But for many people it threatens, when they see life from that perspective, it feels scary because they're thinking about the unknown. They're thinking about what they can't control, what might come out of this thing that I am not quite sure about. And, I don't know how to feel about it. And I realized that holding the tension of the different areas of my life and the different circumstances, how that really is what stretched me to grow. Right. When you build your muscles, you are really tearing your muscle fibers and like stretching them until they tear. And that's why it burns when you go to the gym, because you're stretching these muscle fibers, and that's what helps them grow. And I feel like, but it requires tension from you lifting weights that are heavier than what you normally lift, or on a more consistent basis than what you normally do. And I just, with Heart Talk being a life support group, I really felt on my heart the need tonight for us to be reminded to be willing to hold the tension in our lives. And I'm talking more of like stretching so that we don't have that inner striving, so that we don't have that unrest. So for me, I read a passage from Luke chapter 7, and it was when the sinful woman, and if you're watching the video, you see me using air quotes, because she was just like all the rest of us. She was just an imperfect, perfect being, right? Just moving through life. And but it talks about the people who Jesus went to eat dinner with this man, and all of the guests at the dinner were judging the woman for being there to she pretty much was anointing him and worshiping and just pretty much thanking him, and seeking him for breakthrough and for healing, because she came, she anointed him, she cried, she had this experience. And it doesn't say that she said anything to him. The people in the room were judging her, but they didn't say anything. So it sounds like this was just like going on and everybody just watching and trying to see what is Jesus going to do with this sinful woman that came in here, is washing his feet, and her tears are pouring so much is literally washing his feet, and then he can anoint his she anoints his feet with this very expensive oil that they think is a waste of money, that she would even spend that on pouring it on his feet. And at the end, it he responded to their thoughts. But then at the very end, he told her, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. So we have a Savior that hears our cries without us verbally crying them out. That's one thing. We can be vulnerable in a room full of critics. That's another thing. We're talking about tension now. So people can be criticizing me, judging me, thinking whatever about me, but I can still push through and get what I need. And like I said, we're talking about tension and just this whole idea of living life, understand that there's always two sides to a coin. And a lot of times we celebrate our heroes as if they don't have a villain side. And then we look at the villains and act like they're not a hero to somebody, because a lot of times they are. And so being willing, I feel like with the climate that's going on, I say in our world, but I am also very clear that I live in America. Media is very controlled wherever you go. And if that's where I'm getting most of my information, a lot of things are being fed to me for me to have a certain perspective and worldview. So when we talk about holding the tension, I realize that too. And I just want to invite the Heart Tribe in and ask you to zoom out more in your life. Let's not look at everything so close, so microscopically. Let's zoom out and see how one thing is connected to another and how we can hold the tension of a thing, right? Jesus was invited to this room of this astute, I imagine him to be wealthy, religious, leaders in society. And now he got this woman of the night coming in here to anoint his feet in front of all of them before they eat dinner. What? And he let her in and he treated her kind, and they couldn't understand that, right? But I'm thinking she came into this man's house who's judging Jesus for letting her do it. You let her in your house. You could have told her to get out. But it was something about his presence that, whatever, maybe that was the culture. I don't know. I didn't study that piece. So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out things that can kind of help us relate to where we are right now. So what am I saying? I believe that many of us do have an inner striving and unrest that needs to be settled. And I can say this with this beautiful young woman here on in the heart room with us tonight doing heart talk. She's one of the critical people that kind of helped me realize how much tension I was holding on the inside, how much um, unrest I had, right? How much striving I was doing just by asking a simple question, right? And just being supportive and loving. And her, along with some others that God put into my life in a specific season, I felt like to get my attention and kind of let me know you don't have to do all of that. Like like joy and pain. It's like sunshine and rain. You need both. Sometimes we like to villainize the sunshine. No, we need the sunshine, but we need the rain. And we need that balance. And I feel like that balance is all a part of holding the tension in life. That some of the people you love the most can do some things that you dislike the most. And it doesn't mean you necessarily have to excuse that behavior, but it also doesn't mean that you have to completely cut off the love that you have for them. So that's what I'm talking about, holding the tension. Maybe you've been called to a situation in your life that's challenging. Maybe it's somebody that's hard to love. Maybe you are that person that's hard to love right now. Maybe you struggle with what you see in the mirror. Maybe right now in your life you're challenged with the what you see in the news, what you see in government, what's happening, in Palestine and what's happening in Africa or Asia or South America, Antarctica, global warming. Whatever the thing is, how do we move forward in a healthy, productive manner? How do we not lose our joy? How are we able to still laugh? And, I heard somebody say, you can't skip if you're not in a good mood. It's really hard to like physically skip. And I started thinking about people who skip and like children. It's like, you're right. It's almost always a smile on their face, right? How do we hold the tension? And I feel like one of the ways I do it, I talk about my 6 steps. And I just feel like we have to be grounded in our faith and then give ourselves grace, right? The Bible tells us that we must work out our salvation through fear and trembling. And I think that's what it really requires to live a joyful life. You have to be stretched. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be in awkward situations, and then you find out you love it. You something you dreaded doing, you now you find yourself you got to do it. Now people can't stop you from doing it because you confronted that fear. That's what holding the tension is all about. And I just wanted to kind of get that conversation started because I want to talk more about this. When I started studying it, the word kind of surprised me. It really did. It shocked me. And so I just was like, you know what? I just want to introduce this to the group. Like, I want us to just kind of start thinking about what are some areas of my life that might be hard. I consider it hard or unbearable. Like, what are things I just don't like about my life? And where can I see this from a different perspective? How can I see this from a different perspective? Because I believe this is true. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at begin to change. So if you're willing to look at your circumstance from a different perspective, I believe you get out of the circle you're standing in and get in a better circle. So it's all about doing the work and being committed to the work. Like I tell people, you bathe every day for the most part. I mean, no judgment, but I mean, we bathe, mostly every day, every whatever. Most people every day, every other day. You eat, most people daily, every other day, right? So many people have some type of routine or regimen of some sort of exercise, right? So why wouldn't you take care of your mind, your soul, your spirit the same way that you have to tend to yourself in those other aspects? And I believe that holding the tension, just like when you go to the gym and you hold the tension and you do a push-up, a sit-up, you do whatever it is that you do, it's usually some type of tension that's being held so that this exercise can work, right? So that this movement can have an effect. And many of us need to be okay with the tension that life is bringing at us by way of relationships, by way of our workspaces, by way of what we see in our email box or on our social media feed. And we need to be more um, able to move with that tension. But just like going to the gym, if you haven't been there for a while, you be stiff. You got to stretch. You got to get moving. And that's why we do Heart Talk. That's why we're here to encourage each other and uplift each other and just let you know, like, it doesn't have to be like this. Maybe it does. But even if it does, you don't have to be miserable in the process. You can live a fulfilled life, even if things aren't going your way. Because just because it's going your way doesn't mean it's wrong. Maybe your way just isn't the way. Right. And I just want us to get to a space where we can open up more. Cause I feel like when we do that, and I know it sounds weird, but when you get more to that space, you can get more specific about what you want and start to see more of those results. So, do you have anything you want to share? Any comments or questions you want to make? I'd love to hear from you. And I'll also check on YouTube and see if anybody left any comments. Hear from you. Okay. All right. So yeah, I that's pretty much
Was
what I
somebody
want.
trying to talk?
Oh no, go ahead. Did you want to share?
Yeah, when
Okay.
you were saying that, it was like, especially when you talked about stretching, that point when you're stretching where it feels like pain, but it's not necessarily pain. And I don't know if I talked to you about this before, but when I was having my first child, my son Jason, um, and the doctor was delivering, I was in the hospital, doctor was delivering him, and um, she said that I was going to feel a slight pull. She said, just relax, right? Because she was pulling him out. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But it didn't feel like pain. It felt like pressure because I wasn't expecting it to feel like pain. So sometimes I have expectations that something's going to hurt, and therefore it does hurt. So it may not be something painful, but my mind says it is. So something that is stretching me might feel like pain when really it's just tension and it actually doesn't hurt until I put that in my head that it hurts. So I've been more mindful of this now that I'm getting older because I was walking down the steps once and my knee was hurting. And I'm like, dang, my knee is really hurting. Then I stopped and I said, no, it's not. And cause I'm walking all crazy because I'm in anticipation because my knee was hurting. I said, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. Let me just walk down the, and I started walking down the step and it was no problem. You, you feel me? So our mind is actually what tells us what everything is. So when I see something, we don't see it. It's our brain that
Yep.
tells us what we see,
Yep.
you know?
You're
So
right.
sometimes we can train it to be a certain way and it hinders us. So we
Yes.
gotta retrain ourselves to see more than this or that. Because it's
Yes.
not this or that, it's a round kind of,
Yes.
so it's
I
not a
yes.
either or this or that. Everything is a part of a continuum.
Yes.
That's
That
all I want
is
to say.
that is so good. And I'm so glad you say that because I know I'm thinking about in our current country, political climate. Like I went to go vote, whatever the primary was. I went to go vote and they were like, are you Democrat or Republican? I was like, neither. And it was like, well, you have to pick one. I said, I just feel like that is so wrong. I was like, I'm going to have to put some work into figuring out how this can no longer be. I said, because how can we ever get change if People like me are walking up and saying, I'm neither one. Let me just see the candidates and pick the person I want to pick. And I feel like I say that to say I know politics is a very sensitive subject for people. And I feel like it's like that too because people have made it out to be such, right? I believe that you could do that. You could have your views and believe in what you want to believe and be whatever side you choose to believe or just no side, but that does not mean you have to dislike your neighbor. I really don't believe that. I don't believe that that means that you have to, like, I've seen people get divorced. I've seen families stop getting together because one person votes Democrat, the other person votes Republican, and I'm like, what? I feel like it's so much deeper than that, but it goes into this idea of control and how much are we willing to hold the tension with people that we love, with circumstances that we love. You know, I wrestle as a black woman in America with, July 4th and Independence Day and freedom. But I realized that my great grandfather was brought over, great grandfather. I missed a couple greats, but just humor me on this, was brought over on a boat in 1790 at 10 years old. This we know. Like, this is something genealogists have, this is something we know, right? I saw his name on the census. He was the only person on that page, and they said parents, place of birth. He had Africa. He was 100 years old. It just when I saw it, it it did something to me. So another thing that it did to me is it made me really understand holding the tension of my country tears of thee. Like, this is my country too. If he been here since then, this is my country too, right? But understanding how in a lot of circumstances I'm not treated well, but then there's a lot of them that I am. And being able to hold that tension. And so that's why I bring up this whole idea of the politics thing, because I feel like we have to be willing to work through what we like and don't like about people. And just because you might have something you don't like about somebody does not mean you have to cut that whole person off because of that one thing. You know, I say that about many things in life, right? I just watched this video with this guy, and it's his wife's grandmother, and she's black. Apparently, his wife is white. And the lady said, I didn't like you at first because I didn't want her to marry a black guy. I didn't think races should mix. And she said, I hope you don't get upset with me for saying this. She said, I absolutely love you. And sometimes it's like, I can't believe I could have missed out on you if I hadn't. What I'm saying is, if she hadn't been able to hold the tension, if she wasn't able to say, you know what, I love my granddaughter so much, I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'm gonna just have to deal with this. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to deal with this until she fell in love with this young man. Like, I don't, it seemed very sincere. And I was sitting there like, I wish more people could have these conversations because I feel like it could help a lot more people come out of the darkness, I like to say, into the light, right? I remember when I started the healing journey and everything was my mom neglected me, abandoned me, wasn't there for me. She was on drugs. She was mean. My daddy wasn't there. But it was everything was my mom. But as I started to really do my work, she was just not the only person. It was so much more. The story was so much more complex. But I wasn't willing to hold the tension. I took the easy way out. See, a lot of times we take the easy way out. We don't want to talk. We don't want to have the conversation. That's the easy way out, but it hurts the most. You don't want to communicate. You don't want to have that awkward conversation. You don't want to tell somebody, be vulnerable about how you feel, but then you wonder why you misunderstood. You wonder why you're left out or neglected or whatever. We got to be willing to hold the tension. So I put the title of tonight's talk is the tension of fulfillment. Because if you're going to be fulfilled, people who are happy are not happy because they are free from hell going on in their life. Hell is breaking off in everybody's life. We're just choosing to hold the tension. Joy matters. Peace matters. These things matter to me. So because these things matter to me, I'm willing to have this hard conversation. I'm willing to go to therapy. I'm willing to get up in the morning and work out. I'm going to drink my water. Let me go get this blood work done. Let me go down here and vote, even though I got to pick up Democrat or Republican. I don't want to be none. But my grandmother marched and risked her life. I'm going to vote. Some people say it doesn't matter or not. I'm going to just keep voting just in case. Just like I'm a believer in Jesus, just in case. I ain't trying to go to hell. Just in case it's real. Y'all might not believe it's real. I ain't mad at you. But just in case, let me hold on to my salvation. Let me hold this tension. And we got to know that that's okay. It's a lot of people that are not in spaces in their lives where they're willing to hold attention. So they're very controlling, very manipulative, very difficult to deal with. And I believe that those of us that are doing our work are called to love them as much as we can, have our boundaries in place. That's what the purpose of boundaries are, to protect everyone involved. Not walls, not barricades, boundaries. My neighbors have fences. I've been in everybody's yard. I'm welcome. I can go in anytime. They got gates, they got fences, but I can come in and out because I see that boundary, but I understand that boundary and I can still go in and out. Those boundaries are for a reason, but it's not just to keep me out. And a lot of times, like the Bible tells us, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. And some people think, well, I'm just not going to let nobody in and I'm just be tough and I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. No, it's like putting up a gate like my neighbor got across the street. She don't want just anybody in her gate. I can come as freely as I want to. That's what boundaries are. But I'm not going to come 2 o'clock in the morning unless I'm in dire need. I'm not going to be tiptoeing around her yard stealing stuff neither, because I respect her boundaries. So when we hold tension, we learn boundaries, we respect boundaries. And we're going to talk more about this as we go through Heart Talk. But this is like living life well one-on-one. Like I cannot stop nobody from doing what they're doing. I can only control me. But I want all of us to see that that is a big deal, because you literally are the sun in your solar system. You know how important the sun is to our solar system? If we didn't have it, none of us would be here. And you are that to everyone and everything that you're around. And when you realize that you can hold the tension, just like the sun is holding that tension with the moon and the planets and all that, we're all in this, what do you call it? Like this cosmic, this rhythm. And many of us just need to be recalibrated back to that. And how do we get there? Got to be willing to hold the tension. So, yeah, that's what I got. What do you guys think about this? Does this make sense? Is it helpful? Let me know. We're going to keep talking about it. We're going to talk about boundaries. We're going to talk about how do we protect our purpose? How do we move with intention? How do we show up in a way that's healthy for us and those that we're around? And I believe a lot of it has to do with being willing to hold attention. Jesus did it, and I know we can. So I thank you guys for being here. Remember, we are here every first and third Tuesday. Now, I am going to put out there that there will be a time change coming for Heart Talk, because we're going to try out Heart Talk in the daytime. But I will let you guys know when that is coming, and I will let you know the time. My team and I are locking down the details on that, but it won't be this month. It'll, whenever we do it, we're going to start the month off with that time. So it'll be August or September. And I'm thinking it's going to be September, because that's going to be our 12-year anniversary. So I'm thinking we'll probably just do it then. And it gives us a couple sessions to kind of get everybody aware and let them know that the time is going to be in the daytime. So we're going to be doing more lunch and not dinner together. So just something to think about. And we'll try it out and see. But just, the way my life is going, back to holding attention, just wanting to show up and do the things that I need to do and make it work, right? Just make it work, because I love this. I love this time. I love this space. I love these conversations. And I love the feedback that I get from you guys. So remember, leave your comments, like, comment, subscribe, share. and do your work, right? If you need support in doing your work, check out the website, adelaibrown.com, or go to our link tree, the Heart Connections, linktree / the Heart Connections, and just get information, the books, how to have a free discovery call, complimentary discovery call with me. Whatever it is, we're here to support one another. When we talk about the Heart Tribe, it's a real place, it's a real thing. We have some events coming up the second half of this year, opportunities for us to meet in person, and I will keep you guys posted on all of that information. So, do we have any closing words? Anything you want to share before we close out? Good? Okay, awesome. I know that I did good because my girl don't even have to clean it up for me. I know I did good. And y'all know I'm just joking. Remember, Heart Talk is a life support group, right? And let me tell y'all a quick story. So a couple weeks ago, me and one of our Heart Talk members from when we got started years ago, over 10 years ago, right at about 10 years ago, we had one of our members. She has gone on to heaven, but she would get on a call with us, Mother Bertha, love her to life. Mother Bertha had a bedtime of 8 o'clock. Heart Talk used to start at 9:15 every Monday night on the conference call. We didn't have Zoom. Um, and Mother Bertha would stay up on Monday nights, every Monday night, and she would join us. She would participate, she would listen, she would do exactly what you're doing, Miss Connie. Like I'm telling you, and so and she would always encourage and uplift just like you do. And it meant so much. So a couple weeks ago, me and one of the Heart Talk ladies were out and about in the city, and we ran into Mother Bertha's daughter. And the other Heart Talk Heart Tribe member did not know that was Mother Bertha's daughter, but I did. So she told her hi and just spoke to her, and I was like, "You know what this is?" She said, "No." I said, "That's Mother Bertha's daughter," and like her eyes got full. She was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for your mom." Mother Bertha passed away maybe about 5 years ago, 5 or 6, like during the COVID time or whatever. And with me, my mom no longer being here with me physically, and like thinking of, I know years will come and I will run into people who will respond like that about what my mom did for them and how she impacted their lives. And it just, one, got me thinking about holding attention, and it two, got me thinking about the power of doing this work and how it stretches even past like just life into death. But I appreciate having the wisdom. I appreciate having the humble wisdom, right? Because she always came on and gave us wisdom, just like you, but she always like validated what I was talking about, just like you, and always had a perspective like that everybody appreciated, just like you, right? And so I just thank you. It means so much. And mommy never missed a heart talk. Mommy was like my biggest heart talk. And attendee. And she just was like, girl, I'm not just getting on there to support you. It's good and I need it and I'm doing my work, and you one of my meetings. I don't have meetings on it. Whatever meeting night was at that time, my heart talk was not. One time I was doing it during her meetings. She was irritated with me about that. So we moved the time. But just, all of this goes back to holding attention and just how much I appreciate everyone over the years. I was out and about over the last couple of months and just bumping into people just telling me how much Heart Talk literally has helped them through their lives, through seasons of their lives, and still is. And I'm just honored and thankful to have y'all here. Thankful that we can do this hard work together. That's what I'm most thankful for. Um, and we're going to keep doing it. Remember, when you heal your heart, you transform your life, you transform the world. We have prayer every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. That's not Auntie Connie's ministry. She could do the later stuff, but not that 5 o'clock. I, I think that's so funny. Every time I bring it up, you like, I support you with everything, but not that one right there. I'm gonna leave that to those other sisters, and it's okay. We got a whole. I can't wait till you meet them because we're gonna do some things in the daytime where you're gonna get to meet them. Coming up this fall, I got, remember Bloomware Planet? I'm bringing it back because it's been requested. People like it. They like the coloring and the conversation, and we have our little snacks. So we got some good things coming up because I want to bring us together in person. We do a lot of this work where people process privately, but I feel in my heart, I've just felt this press to do more things, give opportunities for public meetups, and people don't mind traveling. So we're gonna do some things in Charleston. We're going to Atlanta. We're gonna go to the Caribbean. We're hoping to go to Africa. We're definitely going to be going to Asia. Talking about my 3 to 5 year plan. I'm throwing it out here because if we're gonna do this work together, we all gonna be stuck together like that. Okay, so y'all get ready, get your passports ready. This heart work is going universal. All right, we're not just staying on Zoom. This is the real thing. This is not a game. What did they say? This is not a test. This is the real thing. So we got this going. I love y'all very much. Remember, we hold the tension. So I'll say this in closing, when you're up against a challenging situation in your life, somebody you love does something you don't like. This is an opportunity to grow. We don't necessarily have to cut people off. We don't always have to just walk away abruptly, but there are other opportunities for growth. What is your opportunity for growth? That's where we're holding attention. Okay? Think about that. I'll be talking more about it. We'll be back on today's the 7th, 14th. We'll be back on the 21st. But check me out. Turn your notifications on because I will be going live and coming on and checking in and talking to everybody. So it's not like we're just blacking out for 2 weeks. Check me out. We'll be encouraging one another. I love y'all very much and have a wonderful evening. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, signing out.